So hey folks, and welcome to another first ride. Tonight's video is the first ride on the Triumph Street Triple RS. So the bike's been kindly lent to me by Triumph, thank you very much, and I've got this baby for a week to put it through its paces. Now this is the top of the range Street Triple. You can actually get an S version and you can get an R version. So the S version comes with a 660cc engine inside of this bike, and that's the same engine that's in the Triumph Trident, and I understand why they've done that, so that the A2 license folk can get hold of this baby. Following on from that, then they have the R version, which is the 765 engine. There's also an R low version for shorter riders, and then there's the top of the range RS, which we're on today. So there are subtle differences between the R and the RS, and the RS is slightly up on horsepower and a little bit of torque compared to the R. I'll just give you a sound of this beautiful engine. You can hear what it sounds like. Now the bike comes with a whole host of goodies, one being the quick shifter and auto blipper, which is one of the smoothest that I've come across, other than the Ducati Panigale V4 and the Street Fighter. It's very smooth up and down the gears, and also when you're changing down it gives a beautiful blip from that triple engine, and you'll hear that just as I come to a standstill a little bit more up the road just now. The bike has Showa big piston forks, fully adjustable up the front, and then we have a Öhlins shock, fully adjustable on the rear. The suspension feels quite stiff. You can tell this bike is very road focused. It comes on Pirelli Diablo Rosso tyres as standard, and that's something that Triumph seem to be doing well recently, is putting decent tyres on the bike. Now I've come out early evening again tonight because it's cooler. It's crazy hot during the day, and it's the first time ever that I've been wanting a thinner jacket, even though I'm wearing a summer jacket. So I've actually gone and purchased a mesh summer jacket from Revit, and that's coming next week, so we'll have a look at that and I'll show you it when it comes. But back to the bike. So yeah, first ride impressions. The seating position is upright, a little bit of weight on your wrists. It's more sporty than some of the Bonneville range, and obviously it's the Street Triple, and it's probably the same seating position as the Speed Triple, which will be coming for a test in September hopefully. So the bike is super flickable, really is great to ride. It handles, it peels into corners. Red lines at about 14,000 RPM, so it is quite high revving, and I'm not sure this would be the bike that you would want to sit on a motorway for awful long journeys. I know the other night when I took it out, I was on the motorway doing 70, and it was probably up around 7,500, 8,000 RPM. But it's not a motorway bike, it's for these kind of roads, carving up the B roads, and also to use on the odd track day. Electronics wise, the bike has too many to mention. I think there's 4 different screen layouts. You can then change the colour between the screen from blue to red to green. Has a vast array of information on the screen, including a lovely petrol gauge, which is nice. And also, like the other Triumphs, it tells me how many miles are left, what the range is left in the tank, which is brilliant. All the key information you need. Not sure I like the rev counter side of it, it's quite hard to see, but you've got a big speedo in the middle telling you how many miles per hour or kilometers an hour you're doing, depending on which it's set on, and then you've got your gear indicator as well. Brakes wise, you've got the best brakes on this bike, I think. You've got Brembo M50 monoblock calipers and great stopping power, really just from one finger braking. So on the rear you've also got a Brembo brake setup. You've got 310 twin-millimeter discs on the front and a 220 on the rear, so the brakes are absolutely superb. Just notice the screen goes dark, which I quite prefer actually, over the white layout. I'm sure that's configurable, you can probably set that up. Riding modes, so we've got Rider, we've got Rain, we've got Road, we've got Sport, and then you've got Track, which it skips over while you're riding. But one thing I find is really nice is that you can change riding modes on the fly without pulling any clutches in or anything like that. The track mode, I think you can only put it in track when you're actually in neutral and pulled up. Also the screen, you can actually move it up and down at different angles, kind of it's on a pivot, and I find that that's quite good. I think it's a nice little feature, because if you've got the sun in the wrong direction and you're getting a lot of glare off the screen, you can also alter the angle of the screen, which I think is really, really nice touch. That quick shifter just blips down, lovely. A lovely little village we're just coming through just here. Also, what's a really nice touch is that you've got adjustable clutch lever and brake lever, and you've got Brembo master cylinder on the front. You've got all LED headlights and lighting all around, indicators and rear tail light, and the new headlight setup, which I'll show you now. This new headlight setup, you've got the DRLs, like two little eyebrows, or two big eyebrows, which I think is quite nice. So I was never really keen on the earlier bikes with the bug eye effect of the headlights, but I think with the DRLs and the way they've set this up, I think it's quite nice and you get used to it pretty quick. You've got bar end mirrors on there, like any of the other Triumph mirrors, good quality, plenty of view behind you. And one of the things that I think is absolutely outstanding on all of the Triumphs that I've ridden so far and seen is the paint. Triumph paintwork is some of the best I've seen. Now, while some of you out there have commented on many motorcycle manufacturers, not just Triumph, about the boring paint schemes, this one comes in the silver, red and grey, and I think the metal flakes in the paint and the tank really show off, and the way the tank's sculpted is just beautiful. Your knees tuck into it nicely, you've got plenty of wind protection on your legs. Obviously it's a naked bike, so you've not got much wind protection up front, but you can get a small fly screen. Not that it will help that much, but it'll be a little bit better than what comes as standard. What else can I say about this bike? Other components are brake lines. They have stainless steel brake lines, braided brake lines as standard, and they're also coated with a cover over, a PVC cover as well, to protect them. Throttle connection, smooth, typical Triumph. They always have a good connection. Seating position, so while it is quite sporty, my legs are not cramped up too much. I'm 6'2", and the seat is really comfy as a standard seat. It is a single seat. So we're just at Kirby Lonsdale now, just going past Devil's Bridge. Very popular with bikers. Now, the exhaust pipe on this motorcycle, the standard one, comes with a carbon tip, and while at sedated speeds like we're doing now, just 30, that triple engine sound is quite quiet. But as soon as you get above, I would say 6,000 RPM, you get a nice rasp from it, and the induction from the airbox is a super sound as well. So they've really hit the mark with the standard pipe. I think it sounds quite nice. And with the quick shifter and the down blips, really racy and lovely. Like it. When I first hopped on it the other night, actually, and obviously coming from the 1000cc sort of era of bikes, it seemed a little bit docile, but it does really pull from low down. So Triumph have managed to get that torque low down, even though the RPM goes all the way up to 14,000 at the red. So it really screams. But yeah, the handling, just with all that lovely suspension, great brakes, and wonderful Pirelli tyres, you can really flick it round the bends. It's so light, obviously, compared to the 1000cc motorbikes that I've normally ride. Now that's not to say that the things I don't like about this bike. There are a couple, not many, but a couple. One of the main things that I don't like is, while the switchgear is very tactile and good looking, and I think it's backlit. I need to go out in the evening and have a look. I'm not quite sure on that, so don't hold me to it. But the indicators, when I first got on it and I went to put an indicator on, now this bike does have self-cancelling indicators, the same as the Triumph Trident, which I think is wonderful. Now I'm wearing summer gloves, so they're quite thin, so I can feel the switches and things. But when I go to indicate, the switch is like on a micro switch. You know when you press a micro switch and you just get a kind of a little click? It doesn't actually move left or right that much. And there's quite a few times where I've gone to indicate, and through my summer gloves I actually don't know whether I've pushed it or I've indicated until I look at the screen, the dash, and I see the indicators flashing. And also when you go to cancel it manually, again it's like a micro switch feel. Now if you were wearing winter gloves, so there's no way you would feel that connection. So I think they should have had more travel on the indicators, but that's really something you could get used to, and it's not much really. It's just a bit of a whinge. So we're in 6th. Just open the throttle from 30 and the bike just pulls. I noticed on the rear the sprocket is quite a large sprocket, and that's why it's high revving at the sort of speeds where I think it should be 2,000 or 3,000 RPM less. So I think if it was mine, I would tend to alter the rear sprocket down a few teeth just to lower that, but it's personal choice really. Right, what's the other thing I don't like about the bike? I know there was something. See, it's that well built, I can't find much to not like about it, but definitely there was something else. Ah, I remember. So on the rear brake, now my foot's fully on the pedal, just in the middle of my foot where you'd normally go for the brake, and I have to tip my toe in left towards the engine casing to actually step on the brake. Now if you're on track, you'd probably want that so that the actual brake pedal doesn't go near the ground, but I think I'd quite like it set a little bit further out, and that's what I'm used to. I've only come across it on this bike actually. All the bikes I've tested recently, I've not had that issue. And I've gone for the rear brake a couple of times and totally missed it. So that's my other negative on the bike. So that's 3 really, isn't it? So what have we got now? We've got the speed at the revs that you're doing, the rear brake pedal, and then the indicators. And that's about it. Everything else about the bike I absolutely adore. Of course it's got a 6-axis IMU, it's got traction control, lean sensitive ABS, and as I mentioned earlier in the video, it's a single seat unit. You can take the hump off, and I'll take that off now and show you what's underneath. There's actually quite a bit of space under there. You could fit your wallet or your phone or something. There's a USB charge port, so you could charge your phone under there or any camera devices that you have. And also there's a auxiliary port or plug, and I'm presuming that's to plug the module that you can purchase for about £200. And then what that does, it gives you mobile phone connection, so you can get your music and your telephone readout on the screen. Why you would want that, I'm not sure. But also you get a GoPro control as well, so just from the switch gear you could turn off and turn on your GoPro, so if you were vlogging on the motorcycle regular, you could actually turn it on and off just from your motorcycle. Optional extras, I think there's 50 for this bike. How does the engine compare to the previous version? Well, they've done a lot of work obviously to make it Euro 5 compliant, and I'll give you a rundown of the engine figures when we pull up shortly. I'll say it's a very easy bike to ride. A beautiful night out tonight. The sun's just going down. Another couple hours before the sunset. We've had some gorgeous sunsets over the last few weeks, and you'll probably seen if you follow me on social media, on Instagram or Facebook. And if you want to know how to follow me, just head down below in the description, and the links are there. Just click on those and click follow. I do appreciate you following us on the other social media platforms. You do get more daily pictures and different stuff than you do on YouTube. So go and check that out. And also, if you've not seen it yet, we have started a website and a blog, also again in the description below. Have a look at that. And then we're actually doing written reviews on the motorcycles as well as events and other motorcycle related activities. And of course, if you want to buy me a beer, there's also a link in the description below. So we're just in Hornby just now, just heading through, just past the church on our left, and then over the bridge you've got the castle, Hornby Castle entrance just here on the left, and then you've got Hornby tea rooms just over the bridge on the left hand side, just up here. So we've got the fuel light on now. Need to go and get some fuel from somewhere, but we'll just give you a walk round of the bike and we'll just run over the specs as well and just pull up just up here. Okay, so as I mentioned, there's an S, an R low and an RS version. The S version is £8,100 on the road. The R version is £9,500 on the road. So the R low is £9,300 on the road. And the RS version, which is this version, is £10,900 on the road. So like I mentioned earlier, only the S model has the 660cc engine. This one and the R and the R low has the 765 engine, which is the one that they use in MotoUK, obviously derived for the road. The RS model here has 121 brake horsepower or 123 PS at 11,750 RPM. So it has 79 Newton meters of torque at 9,350 RPM. Up and down quick shifter, which is one of the smoothest I've ever seen on any bike. And like I mentioned, the suspension on the front is the Showa 41mm actually, not 43mm. And then it's got an Öhlins STX 40 rear shock, which is also fully adjustable, so just in there. The tyres, these are Pirelli Diablo Supercorsas, and we have a 180 on the back and a 120 on the front. The brakes, as you can see here, we've got Brembo M50 monoblock calipers, and they're on 310mm discs. And then we've got on the back the single pot rear Brembo caliper, and that's on a 220mm disc. So the dry weight of the bike is 166 kilograms, and then it has a 17.4 litre fuel tank, and the fuel tank does 5.2 litres per 100 kilometers. Interestingly enough, on the fuel tank you've got the raised lettering, which I think is different. I quite like it. You've got some nice graphics there, but the paint, not sure if the camera picks it up. The fleck in the paint is beautiful, and also the sculpture of the tank is beautiful. The seat unit is lovely. It's got this lovely stitching in it, and the rear tail section, it's got some vents through here, and also this section comes off, and I'll show you that just now. Underneath, as you can see here, plenty of space for something. You've got a USB charge socket, and then an auxiliary socket, like I mentioned, for the module to have Bluetooth connectivity to the dash. Just on this side, just here, you can see the quick shifter. That's actually quite unique because it goes through the center of the frame, and then it's tucked behind the heel plate, which I've not seen on many other bikes. As I mentioned, the switch gear, this is the culprit. It's like a micro switch, really no movement in that whatsoever. So that's my one gripe. On the other side, don't know if you can see just here, so you got the foot peg, and the actual brake pedal is set quite a way in, so I kind of go for the rear brake and I miss it. You can see the nice can there with the carbon end cap, which is also lovely. But I think the bike's well finished, super build quality. Really impressed with Triumph so far. Even the discs on the front are Brembo. So you won't believe it actually, but even when I'm looking at the discs now, when I see the rim tape on the front wheel and the rear wheel, that's actually hand painted. So the guy at Triumph, I actually met him, hand paints all the tanks and things and does the pinstriping. He actually does the wheels on these. Nice job. So let's get back on board this thing. It is very road focused, and what a super bike. I'm looking forward to testing the 1200 version of this as well. So this is the Street Triple RS. So the bike's saying I've got 44 miles and the fuel is low, so it's a good indication. 44 miles on reserve, which is good. So let's head down the road, try and find a petrol station. Now if the indicators and the rear brake pedal are my only niggles, then it is a good bike. Now I don't know if you saw the review of the Triumph Trident in the previous catalogue. I've also opened a playlist which has all the Triumph bikes in that I'm testing. So if you want a quick find, just look on the channel and go to the playlist, you'll find it. But the Triumph Trident is also a lovely bike, but I think if you're an A2 license holder, then you could get this version with the 660cc engine in, which is the Triple S, or you could test ride the Triumph Trident, which I absolutely loved. And it's hard to try and choose, if it was me, between them both. Obviously this is more equipped, more of a modern looking day's bike. Also handling wise, this is definitely better by miles. But if you wanted a classic looking bike and you're an A2 license holder, then the Triumph Trident is a super machine. So I'll pop a link to it just in the corner just here. You can click on that link and head over to that video. Actually there's 3 videos, a first ride, a spec ride, and then a last ride. While I'm only doing 2 videos on this one, so thanks for your feedback guys. First ride and spec, and then we'll do a last ride and final thoughts on this bike. Now I'm not sure what competition this bike has out there on the market. I think things like the KTM 790 or thereabouts, something like that, but they're 2 different motorcycles completely, so I don't think it has any competition. You've got the 660cc or the 650s out there on the market, and then this, and then up towards the 1000cc bikes, and the next one up from this in this version of bike is the 1200cc, and I think Triumph have pushed another 100cc's just to meet the Euro 5 regs. But yeah, lovely and flickable, and like I say, the braking on this thing is immense. So we're just doing about 3,800 RPM. In fact, I can probably show you that. Okay, so on the screen you can set it while on the move, and you can have it like it is now, if you can see that. So 3,450 say RPM, and I'm in 6, and I'm doing 43 miles an hour. So it is quite high revving, and that's mainly from the huge rear sprocket that this thing has on it. So we're just coming into Caton, and I'm just going to fill up at the petrol station just there, top the tank back up, ready for the next ride. It's a Friday evening, and I'm looking forward to the weekend out on this thing. So if you're up this way in Lancashire and you see me, give me a wave. You can't miss me, I've got a big red helmet. And yeah, if you're not a subscriber already guys, then appreciate it if you could subscribe to the channel, hit that subscribe button, ding that bell for future videos coming up. We tend to have 1 video a week, but currently I think we're having even 2 or 3 a week, so plenty to come from the channel. So there's my petrol station. So I'll sign off now. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll catch you on another video. Cheers, guys. Thanks.